Hey there, Jacob here from That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures over analyzing manga we find interesting, aka the Over Manga Cast. Say, do you like almost comedically tragic backstories, casts filled with sad boys, and a surprisingly heartfelt and personal journey? Well then, boy, do I have a manga for you. March Comes In Like a Lion by Chica Umino. We read chapters 1 through 13 this week, and I'm pretty sure someone vaguely mentioned shogi or something. Yeah, we got a little sassy with this episode, so strap in and enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Over Manga Cast. My name is Sam, and as always, here at the top of the show, we talk about our familiarity with the franchise we read this week. This one, complete unknown to me. We were just looking for something new to read. Matt found this, and we're like, yeah, that looks interesting. Let's give it a shot. And I assume that is the result for everybody, yes?
Affirmative.
Yeah, to clarify, this might have been a listener recommendation. I can't remember. I'm real sorry. A professional would have looked this up before the episode, but I never admit my mistakes or ever back down, so have fun with that.
Also, professionals are paid.
That too.
Send us money.
We would put a lot more effort into this podcast if you donated to the Patreon we don't have.
I also appreciate podcasts that start out in the first 30 seconds begging for money.
This episode brought to you by a lack of dignity.
Have you ever wanted to just panhandle? But a podcast? The Over Manga Cast.
I mean, that's like 30% of the internet anyway nowadays.
Manga's expensive.
That's just being a Twitch streamer. Anyway, we're losing the thread already.
That's okay. The manga doesn't really keep a tight hold on the thread either.
Yes, we open up with a pretty strong opening page of some figure speaking to presumably our protagonist, saying that his name means zero, and that is applicable to him. No home, no family, no school, no friends, just a zero. And that's the level of kind of mope that we're going to be going at. That's our baseline. I don't know why I'm being so mean. It's not that I hated this. It's just it's very easy to be mean.
Look, we got our boy Ray Kiriyama, and this manga loves its like artistic sad boy panels. To the point I see this mocked in like other things. It's obviously not referencing this. It's referencing just the cliche of you don't understand. I feel like I'm running against the tide. Just swimming, but why am I swimming? Why do I play shogi? Why do I swim in shogi and swim shogi, swim, swim? I'm dying.
Yeah, that kind of gets into this is a general vibe that I feel permeates through the entire manga, and there are places where there's like distinct spikes of this, but sort of my overview of this is this feels to me like it was written coming from a place of very genuine, very personal grief. And I feel that like there's a sincerity to it that makes the whole hard to mock, but boy, do individual parts of it just seem like it's asking for it.
Oh, I have to agree. It's like almost a self-insert, if not self. It's definitely somebody that the author has encountered in their life and just wanted to kind of pay homage or like comment on of this state of being of we'll dive into later on, but you know, the trope of being alone and feeling as if you are alone, even though as we'll explore he's not really
he's very
alone.
much not. There is a weird air of this manga where it seems like it is nothing but a parade of sad boy feels when most of the people in this manga are exceptionally lucky and should be, like, with the people in their lives, be living extremely happy and privileged lives. Like, there's so much love for the characters from other characters.
That's my general vibe here, in that this manga is presumably about shogi, but it's actually not. It's about dealing with grief and like tragedy and how that can impact just trying to live a normal life. And that's fine. The problem is we get these heartfelt scenes from like, it's not just the main character. It's like the thesis statement of this manga is tragedy is relative, which is cool. But the problem is while you're reading it, it's, oh, aren't I so unlucky and awful? And I'm like, no, your life seems pretty good. And like the things they complain about will then like 2 chapters later be revealed. Oh, by the way, they're not completely an orphan. They've got extended family that are around them, or like.
Oh yeah, even in this first chapter here, our main character is, having a shogi match. The gentleman that he's speaking with is not immediately introduced, but then he's on his way home and he gets a really cheerful message, inviting him to come over. We're having dinner and we're really excited to have you, you should come over. And his first instinct is to say, no, I don't want to do that.
I'm too busy moping.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. But
so my reading on that wasn't that he was trying to cancel because he didn't want to go. My reading on that was he didn't want to go because he didn't want to be a burden on someone. Which is why what happens is he gets a text later from the family who's basically adopted him. Spoiler alert. But it's she says, hey, by the way, we're out of eggs and we're out of pickles. We're having curry tonight. So this is something we need for dinner. And that's what prompts him to go, well, if they need it, I better go get it for them.
Yeah, it's very much the case where, so this opening scene definitely is what got me invested to basically read the whole thing straight through in like about 1.5 sittings, because like, I'm not gonna lie, there have been cases where it's like, hey, you could go have social interactions and not be a sad hermit. And then I feel a reflex to like, but I don't wanna, it's safe in my bubble sort of thing, which I like, that's how I felt about it. And that's perhaps a level of projection. But then the fact that it's like the family that's adopted Ray, the one who sent the initial message immediately reads what he's going to do and circumvents his sad boy nature. It's like, my God, you are so lucky to have these people in your life. Like, you are so freaking blessed. And there's almost a level of frustration in the fact that he does seem to be at least some level aware of how lucky he is. And like, it definitely loves its sad boy panels, but it doesn't ever get morose. Well, there's a couple of places where it gets really freaking dark, but it's like those are like, boy, I'm gonna have to unpack that later, sort of like sequestered moments. Yeah. But like his general demeanor, it's like I think he's aware of how lucky he is, and that's maybe the thing that kept me from hating him, because I had a bit of reflexive, oh man, you'd better be grateful for this sort of.
Yeah, the thing that struck me about the opening chapter is, there's the thing of like, a year is zero, you've got nothing. And then he wakes up in his empty, mostly unfurnished apartment. He goes and walks through the town, which looks very empty. There's no people around. He goes to the shogi hall, and which has almost nobody there. He plays against the one guy, and it all feels incredibly lonely until he goes to the house of our other set of main characters, the Kawamoto sisters.
Yeah, and even then, again, going back to that opening scene, the guy he's playing against isn't just some regular guy who's expressing regular small talk. He's actually, asking about his well-being. Like, how are you doing? It's directed towards the main character, which again only emphasizes more strongly that there are people who are concerned about your well-being. You're not alone. You're not living completely in isolation. You have people reaching out to you, asking about how you are doing. You don't have to, necessarily solicit as much as he seems to. He feels like social interaction is a burden on the other person. Despite they're the ones that are initiating, and he doesn't have to initiate.
And to be fair, if it were only Ray, I would chalk that up to the manga wanting sad boy energy. But it seems like a lot of characters in this have the same kind of thing where they're so wrapped up in their own like grief that they're incapable of noticing like, hey, maybe not only experiencing, like, if we could just look outside of that, we could realize things are actually pretty okay.
Yeah, it's interesting in that regard, because it is sort of, the thesis statement of the manga of different ways of coping with grief. I think another important thing to note is that his opponent in that shogi match, as Jay said, it was not just some random guy. It was revealed subtly through the dialogue that was somebody he considers a father, and I'm like, okay, not your real father, so like a step parent or like an adoptive father. It's like, okay, I'm starting to piece together, why is sad boy sad? Orphan, gotcha. And then
that seems to be a trend, unfortunately. That is a trope.
There are a lot of orphans in this.
A lot of orphans in this. But we meet the Kawamoto sisters. We have Akari, the oldest, Hinata, the middle sister, in middle school, so slightly younger than Rei, who is in high school, and then Momo, the little sister, the preschooler, and also their cats.
Their cats, who we also learn are strays, or were strays.
I freaking love the animals in like the background animals, because they always have their thoughts are expressed in words, and it's like
their dialogue is great. Feed me, I am starving. Are you feeding me? Is it your turn?
I've had nothing but water for 3 days. And then a little arrow pointing to, this is a lie.
Yeah, which is where I started to get confused, because the manga sets a very powerful theme of a very powerful emotional tone of like loneliness and this sort of sense of isolation, and then it becomes extremely chaotic with the crowded panels of the sisters and the pets, and everything gets a sort of a sketchy aesthetic to it. There's lots of speech bubbles. It's kind of hard to pay attention to what's happening. Like, it feels like a crowded room with a lot of energy in it. This is not the only time the manga will very suddenly have huge tone shifts. Like, even in this same scene, they've got the TV on, and the reporter talks about how a student like
brutally murdered his father with a hammer.
Yeah. And Rei's just like, that's like what I did when I beat my foster father in shogi earlier.
Yeah, there's also a lot of self-doubt and continuing that theme of, self-blame and
and also Rei hearing other people's problems and going, no, mine are worse because I'm a liar, and he somehow makes everything about his grief.
Yes, which is substantial. I mean, we learned, throughout this reading, more about his backstory, but I don't know if it's a culmination of not just his very tumultuous, I don't want to say adoption, but his settling, because he did lose his, biological family years ago. Still tragic. I'm not saying that, there should be anyone to fill that spot, but he was never, I guess, afforded an opportunity to really process, as, they kind of, I think, a little bit explore that. He was never allowed to really have that sink in. It was just focus on the next thing, focus on surviving. What is your next step? What is your next move, so to speak?
I think one element that's sort of important is, and this is something that was like more of a vibe to me until it's been us discussing it has put it into words. One of the things I sort of feel from this is a lot of the places where it gets the most sad boy-y, it feels like a bout of intrusive thoughts. It feels like the kind of self-doubt that, that will just like, just speaking for me personally, sometimes, you get those moments where you start staring into the abyss despite your best efforts, and you start thinking about how no one can comprehend your tragedies, and then life moves on and you realize we're just going to move on with the day, like that sort of thing happens sometimes. And because Rei hasn't had a sort of healthy outlet to process a lot of backstory we'll get into as the reading goes on, he seems only vaguely aware that that's what's happening to him. Again, he doesn't seem completely oblivious to this idea that like maybe he's taking himself a little too seriously.
Well, it's also the fact through his interactions with his, I guess you could say his newfound family.
Yeah.
Is he kind of, as he interacts with them, he finds little tidbits more about the trauma and the sufferings that they're experiencing, and he finds more in common with that. He's just like, oh, they also, are dealing with inner turmoil too. I know what that's like. It's not just me. And it's like, no, sometimes, talking to people and, letting people know how you are feeling, they're like, oh, I know how that feels. And there's a camaraderie in that.
Yeah, you're not a burden sharing your grief with another. That's a point of human connection.
All of which gets revealed once we get out of chapter 1 in due time.
We only read chapter 1.
This entire episode is just about chapter 1.
Which really just makes Jay and Jacob's monologues all that more amazing. Like, wow, you guys are really insightful to get that from the first chapter.
But yes, Chapter 1 ends with a very melodramatic panel or a series of pages. He falls asleep at the Kawamoto sister's house, and Hinata goes to tuck him into bed and notices that he's crying in his sleep, and we get the nighttime shot of the river in the Tokyo skyline with his name, his age, and his professional shogi rank. And I'm like, God damn. This is like Chihaya with the angst cranked up by 300%.
It's Chihaya, but the game that the story is supposed to be about is replaced with angst. Yes, that's what this is.
Yes.
I was about to say, Chihaya is lighthearted and fun most of the time. This was...
Yeah,
it's a girl in a love triangle, and this is just, oh gosh.
This is I can fix him porn, really.
Oh,
yeah.
You're not wrong. I mean, to be fair, these people are absolutely capable of being okay. So, but that is what this is.
Yes.
You think they're okay, and then 3 chapters later it reveals why they're not okay.
Yes, then someone's crying. I mean, good for you, but it's everyone's fine, everything's normal. Now someone broke down crying. Okay. Then we open the next chapter with my favorite panel, which is just a cat owl.
Yeah, the cat owl is staring. So after a very hectic morning, Ray goes off to school. We learned that he originally did not go to high school, but then ended up re-enrolling after a while. We get this through some dialogue with his teacher.
Boy, this character sure is a character.
Hayashida Sensei sure is something.
I like how by the end of our reading, I knew more about Hayashida Sensei than I did about Ray. It was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird, and yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know where they're going with this character. I don't know what his point in the story is. Matt, with you saying that, I wouldn't be shocked if we find out later that he has some sad, dramatic, hidden backstory of great tragedy or some such nonsense.
I don't know. The commonality they seem to have is every, male adult figure has a connection through shogi. Either they played when they were younger, or they know somebody who played who was younger. So it's very prolific through everyone Ray seems to interact with, which is interesting. I mean, from an American or Western perspective, do we know anyone or know too many people who play chess professionally?
Yeah, that was the whole thing when they went how being a professional shogi player works. You get paid per the match, and I was just blown away by how that works. I don't understand, because I understand they compared it to a boxer or I forget the other sport that it's you get paid by the match, but I'm yeah, because you sell tickets to those matches, that's where the revenue is coming from. How is this just being paid out by an endowment to the arts, or
Yeah, and I can fully understand the cultural significance, and I'm not trying to knock it, saying, "Oh no one
no one would watch shogi on TV," but it's there are televised. they're like televised matches, but like, does it bring in that much money that like you can survive on a lump sum at the end of the month for all the matches you played that month? Like,
well, not only that, we find out Ray is making like more than his teacher makes. So
yes,
Yeah.
he is like a very talented player, as they say multiple times. He's very talented. So it's not exactly shocking that, you know, he went pro at a young age, that he's able to make a salary that he's able to live off of. But I think, for at least this is my interpretation, it was just very interesting how it appeared that everyone that Ray encountered had a connection to shogi.
I will point out, you said very talented, which is kind of true for Ray, is the problem.
Well, are you talking about outwardly or inwardly? He was trained well. I think that's something, though, we kind of like learn later on, though, is that the way, especially like when we start our reading, though, it's kind of framed that he was kind of a prodigy. But we learn later on that that is not the case. He's just very intense at studying and practicing. And again, drawing on that, this was something that made sense and was a form of survival for him.
Right, Hayashida Sensei. He's an interesting foil to Ray because they have similar like character designs, but like everywhere where Ray is like darkened out or concealed somewhere, Hayashida is like light colored or revealed. Like Ray has the anime glasses concealing the eyes. Hayashida does not. And Hayashida, notably, one of his main character traits, not a whit of tact about him. No subtlety at all.
yeah, he just says what's in his head.
Mans has a coffee filter between his brain and his mouth.
Yes.
He happens to follow the professional shogi scene. So when Ray ended up becoming his student, he's like, wait a minute, you're that Ray Kiriyama. Yo, that's wild.
Yeah, and that's why I was like a little uncanny that it's just, I don't know. This is an area of weakness for myself. I do not know how prolific the passion for shogi is in Japan. But
me neither. Apparently, it is enough that it has basically consumed every aspect of this boy's life except for his friendship with the Kawamoto sisters.
Ooh.
But we have several more slice of life shenanigans going with this. We are in chapter 2, we get introduced to Hayashida, and also my favorite character for how outside of the like tone of the manga he is, Nikaido, Ray's shonen rival.
See, that's the funny thing, because
he is giving off the entire wrong genre energy, and I'm so about it. I love this guy.
Well, like, that's sort of the funny thing, because I buy that, because like, this guy is the guy who thinks that shonen logic works in real life. So like, I honestly feel like he fits in better than the teacher. Because the teacher's just weird. I get Nikaido on like a spiritual level. Like, I understand the warped way his brain works.
He's literally arguing that according to the shonen storyline, we are best friends. He's like, what?
We are best friends and also bitter rivals. He's great.
He means well.
Did you break into my mailbox? Did you break into my mailbox and open my mail just so you could have this? Just so you could have the dramatic reveal that we are going to be in another match together?
I broke the law for you. That means we're best friends.
By the way, you got any snacks?
He is a rotund young man.
Gentleman.
Yes.
Mikato's a strange boy.
He's also very sheltered, which is
He has a butler, and he wanted to give his butler some time off, so he sent him on an around the world in 80 days trip, which we will find out later did not come to fruition.
Did they actually do? They only gave him 8 days for that like trip, right?
No, it was supposed to be 80 days. We find out later it didn't work out that way.
Okay. Yeah, he has a very dedicated butler who apparently is so involved that he monitors his young master's digestion habits.
Well, this is seeded throughout. Yeah, he's based off of a real world shogi player, and he's like his physique is based largely around him having a chronic illness that I have a feeling is probably going to kill him before the manga ends.
Yeah, got a lot of best friend going to die energy.
Yeah,
coming off of him. With that, we're introduced to most of our important characters. We have another chapter of some more shogi shenanigans with more shonen characters. Ray.
Yeah, Ray's buddies, basically. Again, this guy has so many people in his life who just care about him. Like,
I love how much they try and villainize these two guys who are like, hey, you're the person who won. That means you got the big payout. That means you're treating us to dinner. And they're like, oh, these two are just constantly like, and it turns out what happened was early on, Ray went out with like some upperclassmen's weird because they were like adult men, but that's just how it works.
In the sport, they were like your upperclassmen.
And he went out drinking with them, and they forced him to drink, and then he got like real drunk as a high school student.
He was only 17, so I don't know when this happened, but I assume he was maybe like 16 or
let's not get too far
15.
into how this timeline must work, because
it doesn't matter. A bunch of older people who were in their later 20s, maybe 30s, were trying to get a teenager to drink.
Yep. But
and went about as much as you thought it would go.
We'll come up to that later, but like the two of that, these two guys are constantly like, you're underage. No, you're gonna have juice, but you still won against both of us. So.
Well,
you're still paying for the drinks.
Yeah. The thing that I like though is that have another basically shonen character, and the blonde guy basically tricks him into paying instead, which I have a feeling, given the dynamic between the two of them, was the plan all along, because he's also the one who suggested Ray pay. This to me is such a case of like, it's setting up that like, oh, these people are like a point of suffering for Ray, and it's like, no, they're not. They actually like him. They're actually friends, you know. And then it flashes back to the dark place that Ray had previously been as a point of contrast.
We also get brought up like Ray does not have any problems with money.
Yeah,
yeah,
like
it's a lucrative career.
He's doing fine off his pro shogi paycheck. But they end up going to the bar and also running into Akari, which leads me to actually question now, what does she do?
She's a hostess for her aunt's hostess club.
Yeah, it's revealed later that they have a business down in Ginza, which is the richer part of Tokyo or whatever. So she also does that. She also has another job, but
that's why she was in like the black cocktail dress and was being so nice to them, and why he constantly said she's like a completely different person. But then she broke character to talk to him like, oh, by the way, thanks for picking up the eggs. I forget what she thanks him for in this scene.
I think it was the key. I think it was the keys.
Yeah.
It
doesn't matter. It's
to wrap the cakes the other day.
Yeah. It was thank you for a cute mundane thing that you did sort of moment.
Yeah. Actually, she's the same person. It's like, yes, she is very much trying to do this job.
Well, she's two very different people, and Ray has a little bit of a crisis going on because he's deeply attracted to both of them.
Yeah.
But also doesn't feel like he's worthy of being loved. He goes on that little pity party right there.
It's everything you can imagine. It's grief. It's also, I don't deserve love. I don't have any friends. I'm alone.
I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah. I mean, Ray is clearly just got depression going on, like pretty bad depression.
Oh, so bad.
He kind of offhandedly mentions when he moved into his new apartment, he didn't even bother buying furniture for a while because what was the point? And I'm like, buddy, money's not a problem for you. That doesn't make sense. Buy some curtains.
Why do you not have curtains?
Because then I would have to go out into the world and experience life.
I have newspaper I can just tape up.
He literally would hold himself up in a like little isolated corner so he didn't have to see the window. So it was just pitch dark, and no windows, no light, no anything.
I'm not sure if this is just like manga brain taking over, but his apartment also looks pretty nice compared to like other things we've seen. Like Zom 100.
His apartment looks nicer than the sister's apartment or house.
I think it's a sort of weird thing of like it's not furnished, so it looks bigger.
Yeah, that might be true too.
Plus, we only see the common areas of the sister's house. Like they all have rooms. Is the other
Yeah,
thing.
that's also true.
It's a proper quote unquote family house. Meanwhile, he just has, the
A
unfinished
one-person
apartment.
apartment, yeah.
That, looks very much the same as it did when you first moved in.
Yeah, I mean,
And
as to the whole like unfurnished apartment thing, I joke about being a hermit. As someone who has actually dealt with depression in the past, like I do to a great degree identify with that very unfounded feeling of, I'm undeserving of love, no one loves me, when the people who love you are surrounding you and telling you it's going to be okay, and it just bouncing off the illogic armor, basically. That's why I said early on that like this comes from a very, very sincere place, and for all of the like aggressive sad boy energy, for all of the pages you could take individually and pretty easily ridicule, I do feel like there is the real emotion there. Like the mangaka experienced some and is working through it in part via this manga, and I feel it, and it definitely helped me work through this, because like it's pretty complicated. There's a level of not liking the protagonist because of how lucky he is to have all these people in his life, but still feeling like he deserves to be alone. Like it's hard to square that, but like that
don't
is
worry,
the reality.
We'll come up with backstory to justify it later. Except that backstory will also feel like, what the fuck are you talking about, kid?
But anyway, they continue to have their little, I guess you would call it, date outing.
The little slice of life adventures, yeah.
Akari kind of goes into, his friends, as rowdy and annoying as Ray seems to find them, are really good people. Go into how Akari and Ray kind of became acquainted on another outing, the same outing in which Ray apparently was forced to drink and woke up with the Kawamoto sisters in their living room, apparently.
I was about to say, my boy is brand new in the city. He is a new kid, no family, no connections, in a brand new city. Goes out drinking with some people who just leave him drunk. And he happens to
leave an underage kid
wasted in the streets.
Yeah.
Like I get Japan is better about this, but holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
This is no Blue Lock where it's a group of bros getting hammered and then painting the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
I said Blue Lock, I meant Blue Period.
Blue Period, yeah.
Blue Lock also has a bunch of guys getting hammered, all right. But that's at the gym.
Yeah, buddy. But yeah, no. This is how Akari ended up bringing Ray into the orbit of the family.
She has a way of bringing home strays, as they like to say, and he was random.
Do you want to talk about the scene where she brings him home? Because I thought that was weird.
What was weird about it?
She's just like, okay, come on, throw up. You'll feel better. What? You don't know how to force yourself to throw up? Okay, open wide. I'm going to slide my hand down your throat.
I'm going to shove my finger down your throat and make you vomit.
Yeah.
And that was when he fell in love.
Oh, yeah. Gag reflex. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
I mean, it's a bonding moment, right? She literally comes across this hapless youth, completely blitzed in the middle of the street, decides, oh, he's only skin and bones. I'm going to take him home and take care of him. Oh, crap. You're going to feel better once you throw up. You got to throw up. What? You need help throwing up? It is weird because usually it's not even the fact that he was he was vulnerable. She took him home to save him. It's just the aside of, oh God, you're still feeling crappy. Here, you'll feel so much better once you throw up. I'm used to it. Apparently she's been out with whoever and
she's been there before.
She works at a nightclub.
She works at a hostess club. Yeah, that's sort of what I took away from that, is that like that scene exists to express how like caring and like good natured she is. It's just, I don't know, maybe this is the case where like the sad boy energy clashes a little bit with the narrative intent. because it is weird.
I'm saying if I was brand new in the city and lucked into this person who's constantly inviting me over for dinners and like rescued me, I'd be a lot more grateful. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you will never go hungry. She literally, because she's caring for her younger sisters,
but
and
he
she's
doesn't
just
want to be a burden.
she's already making plenty of food. She has young children and a cat and a grandparent to feed. She's got plenty of food, person.
As is pointed out by Hinata, Akari likes finding skinny strays, bringing them in, and making them plump and cuddly.
That is all of the cats.
Do you think she might have some issues concerning levels of affection?
She might be a feeder.
Probably. But we do establish. Does Grandpa have a job? I think he must.
He works in the shop.
Yeah, he has a shop.
Yeah. The shop is his, and Akari's secondary job is she splits her time between the hostess club and the family store, basically.
Which is important because another thing to remember is that, you know, the daughters, they have lost their parents as well. So she has to support a household.
Yeah.
And maintain like the family shop and everything. A lot of responsibility.
Her little sisters, her numerous cats, the random kids.
The whole neighborhood, actually. She's adopted the entire neighborhood. She has so much love to give.
She does seem like the type, honestly. I've met people like that before. They are an absolute delight.
Given the amount of times Ray will just randomly be wandering around the neighborhood and run into one of, if not all of the Kawamoto sisters, I think that he and they are the only people in this neighborhood.
That or they just have very similar schedules.
Yeah.
Akari probably must be working at the shop until it's time to be ready for the kids to come home from school, where she then does all of like the household duties, making lunches and everything, and then goes out to work her night job. Or maybe she only does that on the weekends. Whatever makes more sense.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Also, the younger sisters absolutely adore Ray. He is not only, you know, being welcomed by this family, they absolutely adore him. Much to, I think he enjoys it.
He is too depressed to just willingly accept the love they want to give him. But I do think a part of him...
We love you!
Again, I can only speak to my experience, but when you're in that headspace, yeah, you do kind of know you're being stupid. It's just hard to claw your way out of it.
But yeah, we get a bunch of like slice of life shenanigans with them. I think we've already gone over some. They do like 2 separate holidays for the dead, which is interesting. But
I think it's supposed to be like it's a week for it.
Maybe.
And we do the first day of that week and the last day of that week.
Yeah. But we get some cute moments. One of my favorite is the toddler sister when Hinata's yelling at Momo. When Hinata's yelling at Akari that all she does is bring home strays. We barely have enough money for ourselves. What are you doing? And then Momo's just like, wait, what do you mean other kids? Is Ray not my big brother? What? What's going on? Where do you come from?
Where'd you come from? This is awkward.
And that's because Hinata wants to spend a bunch of money to make a very cute lunchbox for a boy she likes, who they're childhood friends, kind of, but whenever we interact with him, it seems like he has a very different interpretation of that relationship, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
They grew up in the same town together. Maybe not childhood friends, but they at least knew of each other, but they weren't as close as...
From Hinata's perspective, they were childhood friends. From his perspective,
Takahashi's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I met her.
Yeah, she was on my little league team, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's a very tween kind of dynamic.
No, she wants her like shoujo manga. Ah, yes, my childhood friend to be my first love. But then it's just like, yeah, she's a girl in my class, I guess.
She is just the girl from the neighborhood. He probably doesn't even really know. Well, he does know her name. He's just like.
Well, yeah, this is also the chapter that had one of the 2 moments of, wow, that got really dark. Okay.
Is this the one where
I think we've skipped ahead a little bit.
Well, no, the baseball chapter. I was actually paging through the manga because I wanted to. It is literally 2 panels. It is literally 2 panels. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't skip over it, and it's in the baseball chapter because Ray is thinking about Hinata's young love. What a cute.
Oh
little
my
romance.
god, I forgot about that.
right.
That was so weird.
And he flashes back to a really, really dark 2-panel scene.
I
I forgot in this young love story, they just have Ray do a flashback to what I assume is sexual assault? Like,
By his adopted sister?
Yeah,
we find out later.
We find out later who she is, though. There is honestly, given like the little tidbits we'd gotten and the it is something that I guessed it was something like that. Like I wouldn't have called like adopted sister or anything, but I like that was sort of like the feel of the scene.
I'm gonna say, if from the first chapter you were able to like guess the fucked up family situation.
Well, yeah, no, obviously, I mean more the vibe. That is 100% the vibe of that of those 2 panels.
Yeah,
but it's 100% from her because the adoptive father and the adoptive brother were nothing like the sister. The sister was just out of bounds.
Sister was out of pocket entirely.
Well,
Yeah, the rest of them were like, this is whatever, but she was like.
Well, getting into the details of that is the other random difficulty spike of, well, that got dark.
Yeah, that's an entirely different section of the manga. I just want to talk about how cute making the bento was.
Yeah,
I will admit I forgot the assault happened in there, but
Yeah.
it's only implied, to be fair.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be honest, I thought it was just teasing because she took her glasses off. Took the glasses off.
It legitimately could have been. But that's not.
It could be sad boy energy of him saying, "I don't deserve love," too, remembering it dark. Like it could be a lot of things. It's 2 panels.
That's the whole thing, though. That's literally the point of it. That is how Ray sees it. He's flashing back to this experience, and he remembers it as a very uncomfortable and transgressive and possibly even violent experience. That's why it feels so dark and out of place. It's doing it on purpose. Like, this is meant to be that sort of like, wow, that got dark out of nowhere. No, you don't get to walk away, manga. You come back here and explain this.
Yeah.
And then it just goes back to the cute bento box.
I was about to say, I really like the cute bento box, and I want to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about the cute bento box.
I've now been interrupted twice. So
I'm sorry, we'll talk about the bento box.
Yeah, this is really cute. Hinata is like doing all the classic mistakes you do when you try and cook something for the first time. She doesn't taste it. She tries to do the most complicated thing possible. She wants things to be aesthetically pleasing but not taste good. And the entire time, Akari is just like, well, he's a teenage boy who just finished or is going to be playing baseball, so he's going to need a lot of energy. So maybe don't make aesthetically pleasing bad food. Nope. Okay, you're not going to listen to me because I'm an old lady. You know what? I'm done with you. Mess up. I don't care. You're a middle schooler. I'm just going to let you be a little shit. We'll talk about it later. Which is what happened.
Yeah, it's exactly what happens. It's such a sister moment.
You know what this guy would probably like? Either some burgers and some pizza, something like that. He would love you. Oh my god.
Make fried chicken. He will like fried chicken. Trust me on this one.
No, I need to be super elaborate about it, but it's not because I like him.
Fried chicken and omelet. He needs a lot of protein. He's on a sports team. No, it needs to be cute and pink. Okay, first mistake. You're making something you want.
He's a teenage boy. He is not going to care.
Make him a curry bento. He'd probably love that. Like,
make sure it tastes good. Literally.
I'm not going to taste it at all, and I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and waste all of my time having to remake the food repeatedly.
You know what guys are going to remember? That girl who made that freaking delicious bento. Not, oh, that was so cute. Oh, I'm totally going to go out with her. No.
My favorite part was when she shows up to give him the bento at the game. He is surrounded by women telling him how cool she is, and I presume also giving him snacks. And then she's like, I don't want to anymore.
Yeah, because he's like the young upcoming star. There's numerous instances of it's like he's like a hero in a sports manga. Actually, there is like a 3-chapter span in like the middle of our reading where there's numerous instances of characters going, just like in my mangas. We did skip over more elaboration on how he met Nikaido. That is just that's set up for later. I'm not too concerned about that, but that's another instance of that.
Mm-hmm. My favorite part is just Hinata's naivete that the most popular boy in school would not have other women who are interested in him. Like,
girl, he's going to have admirers for days.
You are competing.
Mm-hmm.
Not just that, she also wanted to give him this bento in a very, like, you usually would try to get him by himself. I know, like, not at a public sporting event right after he's, hit.
She didn't have time. He was on the bus to go to the.
Yeah, and she was running late too, so it's
because
not like
she messed up cooking twice.
Yeah, she is dumb tween. It's honestly adorable.
Yeah, and then there's just the fun scene of she's gonna throw it away, and Ray, because he doesn't have a job, is just able to have perfect dramatic timing to be in scenes whenever he needs to be.
He really does.
It's literally him just saying, yeah, I don't normally get up this early, but I can do it now because plot reasons. Okay, Ray, we don't care. And he stops her from throwing it away, and he's just like, no, it's okay to cry.
Boy, being able to handle other people's emotions better than your own. I've never experienced that before.
And then they bring the bento back, and Akari and her bond over the fact, oh, you didn't give it to him? It's okay. I made the exact same mistake when I was your age, and I was getting frustrated with you trying to solve your problems, and then I realized, Mom, I said something exactly the same way Mom did to me, and I'm like, nope, you just got to learn yourself. So we're going to do the same thing Mom did with me. We're going to eat your bento together. Also, Ray's here. He can eat it with us. And then we found out your bento was awful. And it's really probably for the best that he never tasted this terrible, terrible, overly salty food.
But they don't say any of that. It's just Ray and Akari coming to the same conclusion silently and simultaneously.
To be fair.
Did you taste this?
Hinata is, the second they say, did you taste that? No, but you can see she's eating it. It's like, this is bad.
Akari, bless her heart, tries to let her down so gently, like, maybe next time I will help you just so we can get the spices right. I usually take care of that.
It's the best way of saying you made a bad bento box without actually saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm. Next time will be a winner.
Should have made that fried chicken.
Should have made the fried chicken.
Ray liked the fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Ray did like the fried chicken.
They had fried chicken one night, and my favorite part about that is just Ray ate those leftovers for 3 days before one of his matches.
She made him plenty. She's like, so you don't have to think about cooking because his entire apartment is bare. She's like, here's some to-go lunches. Just heat them up when you're hungry.
So I think the plot behind that is what they did was they bought a bunch of chicken thighs on discount.
On sale.
Because they were being marked down because they were going bad, which meant they had to cook them immediately. Yeah. So they went and fried up a bunch of chicken and sent him home with a bunch of chicken because nothing about their household leads me to believe they can eat a bunch of fried chicken because their residents are an adult woman, a middle school girl, a toddler, and an elderly man.
Who technically lives next door, but yeah.
Still kind of,
but yeah.
He's a part of the household. It's like a joint or something. Yeah. I think they have the same yard.
So yeah, that entire thing happened and was pretty cute.
Yeah, just a whole bunch of cute, fun moments where just nothing goes wrong and everyone's happy.
Yep.
No problems, just cute slice of life stuff with the occasional like swell of angst.
And also that scene I completely forgot and have actually now forgotten. Remembering what
in our recounting, yes.
But believe it or not, this manga gets dark, so we're gonna need a little bit of a break to drink our troubles away.
Indeed. So we will be right back after this.
Rah, rah, love, rah, rah, love.
And welcome back to the show, folks, where last we left our sad child.
Last we left our angsty teen.
Honestly, just a lot of slice of life BS was happening. Young love.
There was a dog. I liked the dog.
There was a dog. There was a dog that was very friendly and made a small child fall over. Actually, that
happens here.
Yeah,
you're right. That does happen here because Rei and Nikaido are doing some shogi training. Nikaido is continuing to be a shonen weirdo.
And then we find out the most horrifying news in this entire manga.
Yes.
Akari has a type.
Oh, yes. And this
Akari
also,
likes them big and chunky.
this only just solidifies my point. I think she's a feeder.
She's like, he doesn't need my love, but that just makes me love him more.
She goes, they go out to get some food. And it's like, do you want to go to McDonald's for Gigamech?
For do not sue us.
Yeah, Ray is a terrible friend, but to be fair, he doesn't want to be a friend at all. He's kind of just doing this out of obligation. So he's constantly like, yeah, you're a fatty. I don't normally eat this kind of food, but McDonald's seems like your kind of thing. You want a Gigamac? That sounds delicious, but no, I don't want a Gigamac. That's not good for you. Ooh.
Hey, my fat friend who I know has dietary restrictions. Look at this.
That seems like something that Ray wouldn't be emotionally aware enough to ask, honestly.
I'm just saying, this only proves he doesn't eat crap. He just eats a lot. He's a very, very specified.
Well, I think at the end of this chapter we get told what's actually happening. But yeah, Nikaido's on a restricted diet. So he brought a healthy bento because we find out shogi players, when they're not doing matches, they train. And sometimes they hook up with other shogi players to do like group training sessions, which is what Nikaido does.
Yes.
Yep, they're hooking up all right. Mm-hmm. But Ray studies alone and prefers to be alone, but not having any of that. So Nikaido brings over his healthy bento. It's like, hey, I got this healthy bento, but I'm hungry. You want to go out to eat because we're friends? Not really. But come on. Okay.
Ray does go out to eat. He does list off the places he usually eats at.
Ray mentions I eat toast, and sometimes I'll grab some instant noodles, or if I'm feeling real spicy, I'll grab like a bowl of ramen or something. It's all cheap, quick stuff.
In other words, he is that skinny friend who just says that, I'll just grab something from wherever.
Meanwhile, Nikaido's just like, but McDonald's sounds good. And then Ray's just like, well, I have been eating dinner with a friend lately. Oh, no, I said their names. Now they've appeared.
They have appeared. I've
summoned them.
And then Akari locks eyes with her love and is deep red and flustered, which causes Ray a lot of internal conflict.
What have I done?
Ray is not happy with how she's looking at him.
Yeah, it starts with Momo seeing Nikaido and being like, legally distinct Totoro.
Yeah, they come back to the house, they eat.
Akari is like, oh my god, the first stray I've found that's not a rail thin. He's so round.
He's perfect.
Yeah, and Akari has this like mental battle when he's like, hey, so what were you guys planning on eat? I'm going to rearrange my menu plans entirely over what you want to eat because I'm an enabler. And she's just like, I bet this Tubby wants something big and meaty and some delicious fatty food. Tubby, you sure want it. I'm like, Akari, keep your horny in check, girl. Like, what the hell? What the hell is going on in this page? And then he's just like, no, I should probably have something healthy. And then she's like, but if you're healthy, you're going to lose weight and you're not going to be cute and chubby and my perfect ideal man. Wait, no, he probably also wants to be healthy. Grandma wanted to be healthy. I should make a healthy meal for you. Here's something bland and tasteless that we all can enjoy.
Yeah, her weird like internal moral struggle of like he won't be able to maintain his plump body with that kind of food, but if he But what use is
But
a
he must
cute
be
plump?
he must be sick. I have to do what's healthy for him.
What use is a cute plump body if you're not healthy enough to enjoy? Kari, what are you doing?
Ray is somehow not sad boy energy over this. It's just legitimately, stop looking at him that way. Stop it.
Yes.
Stop it.
She is
Look at
literally
look at me
Ray is
that
having
way.
the same reaction we are having right now. Like, what is happening right now?
Like, it's not even jealousy, though there probably is some level of that. It's genuine confusion.
He's not attractive. I'm attractive. Stop it.
What is going on?
He's so confused. And this
anyway,
it ends with the butler returning. And
the butler
revealing
finds him because he has a GPS. I'm just a naturally good. And then Ray's like, did no one else hear him say GPS? What the hell? Am I living in Crazy Town? This
yes,
chapter
Ray,
is,
apparently you are.
this chapter is just really full of jokes, and I'm not probably because what's coming up, but
Again, every time Nikaido shows up, the tone of the manga swings wildly.
But I mean, it's also not that weird for him since he has his phone on him to just be able to track his phone.
I mean, kind of, but that's still creepy.
Yeah.
My favorite part is the butler going like, oh yes, I was in the neighborhood just doing a separate errand, and I wanted to thank you for taking care of the young master. It's from a local shop, you may know it. These are my favorite cakes. Those are my favorite cakes as well. What a weird coincidence that I wasn't super creepy and found out about. And it's just like, oh, I now know why he's so fat with his incredibly restrictive diet. Butler boy is constantly giving him treats.
Yep. The doting father. We don't know about Nikaido's parent. God damn it, we got more orphans in this manga.
Yes.
What is that, 5?
Well, no, he has parents.
He does.
He mentioned his parents sent the butler on the vacation.
Right.
Yes, he might have those parents who are just abroad all the time.
Yeah, he's double D.
I don't think he's that far gone yet, but maybe.
From Ed
I
Maddie.
got the joke, Sam. Don't worry.
Thank you, Jacob. Also, we didn't mention it before, but the reason the butler came back, despite being on an 80-day round-the-world vacation, was he said, I was away for 10 days, and I got so worried about you, I got an ulcer, so I sent my wife in my stead, and I came back.
Yeah, do we even talk about the fact these two had a match against each other, and their entire relationship just seems to be Ray utterly defeats Nikaido constantly, and Nikaido's just like, but I gotta beat you. I gotta be the best.
We skipped over that to talk about Hinata's baseball boyfriend.
Fair. I did prefer that. So
that was better. The long and short of it is Ray and Nikaido met at a kids tournament on the top of a shopping mall in the burning heat. And Ray desperately wanted to just win to end the game because Nikaido was dying in the heat. But Nikaido kept fighting, and he's like, man, this guy actually is kind of based. I gotta respect him by playing my best.
He has a very overt moment of clarity. Oh wow, that was really freaking conceited of me to think I could just stomp him and get it over with more quickly. I should take him seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that.
Yeah, I was trying to be merciful, but no, I'm just being an asshole. Like,
yeah, that's a big part of the reason why I feel like Ray is a bit more aware of his situation than his depression lets him be.
It's like the one time Ray is self-aware that I can think of off the top of my head.
It's the most self-aware. Like, it's the most overtly self-aware Ray is.
I think sometimes Ray's problem is he's too self-aware and gets, like, mired in that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, speaking of Ray getting mired, so I don't know if it gets fully explained, but there is some emergency that the sisters need to attend to. Some family thing.
Yeah, the schedule kind of collapses on Akari, so she. Oh, right. I think
they have a sick family member.
It was like her aunt fell and hurt her leg, so Akari has to go see to her in the hospital, so she can't go get Momo from preschool. And Ray, can you please do it? And he's like, yeah, I can do that.
Which is something that just floored me, because you definitely cannot do that if you're not a relative or on their form to like pick them up.
Oh, this is Japan. School. You can just get free children anywhere.
The
The Japanese diet doesn't want you to know this, but the children in the preschool are free.
The children are free.
There are many mangaka who have known this little life hack and have ruined people's enjoyments of series because of it.
Oh my gosh.
That got dark.
That got
Immediately,
dark.
the rest of this is equally as dark.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was our random difficulty spike of wow, that's dark.
Anyway, there's a cute dog that really, really, really wants to play with Momo, and she is terrified of
Yes,
this puppy's love because this puppy loves her that much.
It's a happy dog.
I
Oh,
want to play. I want to play with you, little
The dog
person.
I love you, small person.
Yes, but dog, you are twice the size of this child and would probably hurt her by going to play. Please cease your
Dogs don't
dog
know how big they
activities.
are. Dogs don't know how big they are. They're just like, I see you. I want to play with you.
Too big.
I see small human, want play.
Mhm.
I love the captions for the animals.
Yeah.
It's the best.
The fact the dog speaks fluent English did really confuse me.
Little person, let's play. Come on.
Why are you crying? No sad.
Yeah, unfortunately, Momo gets a little hurt.
She trips
and
and scrapes.
yeah, well, pretty. So it's just a minor scrape, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a minor scrape, but she's like 4, so it's the worst thing that's ever happened to her.
Well, she has multiple scrapes. She falls like at a full run, so none of them are like serious or anything, but she has a bunch.
That's what I thought because there is a weird kind of parallel thing where Ray is like cleaning up the wound and like has a shell shock moment, and we see an arm covered in bruises. That's not Momo's arm.
And a cloth over a face, and I'm just like, oh.
Well, that got dark.
Oh, Ray, you were just supposed to watch Momo for an hour. What the hell happened, man?
Okay.
Did this other small girl die?
Okay, there was a flash as I'm looking over the panels at the top of that page where a part of me almost thought that, and I'm like, wait, no, that cannot be.
It gets pretty close. This chapter's dark.
Well, no, the joke you made, Matt. I'm like, no, wait a minute. you either you skipped something or I missed something, and I had missed the intention of that.
Yeah. But no, we get the gang all back together, and Ray's kind of despondent. I think he starts crying.
He's crying as he's cleaning up.
Yeah. And the Hinata and Momo and are like Akari is like, hey, what's up with that? And she's like, no, don't just let him be. He's fine. He's probably just remembering the fact he had a little sister, and we're all like, oh, you mean that girl from the beginning? No, you stupid idiot, you reader. It's gonna be more confusing.
Yeah. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but when Ray's getting in his really dark moods, the manga does this stylized thing where the borders between panels become huge, and like white text is on the black background to like kind of signify the dark thoughts. It's a moment of like the manga is just creeping to the edge too melodramatic for me to be taking it seriously, but thankfully this story arc is plenty dark enough that it feels appropriate, because it is him recounting about how a drunk truck driver
Took out his entire family.
God damn it, isekais, you've gone too far. Why did you isekai a full family?
Truck couldn't send a mother, father, and younger sister all to another world and left Ray behind.
Yep.
And he has to deal with his extremely petty extended family.
Oh, petty is one way to call them. Literally, his aunt.
His grandfather is sobbing over the coffin of his father, saying, "You damned fool, you were going to take over the clinic for me.
I can't retire now. You'd finally given up on your shogi dream."
Yes. But I mean, literally, the uncle, the brother or whatever, is like, you can leave everything to me. Leave everything to me.
That's the daughter's husband.
Yeah.
That's why they're both awful.
Yeah. And she immediately wants to throw Ray in an orphanage. Not even a consideration.
This woman is so nice about it too. Like, don't worry, I'll find a lovely orphanage for Ray. I'm like, you're his aunt. You don't get to find a lovely orphanage for him. That's not how family works.
Okay, you guys remember the animated movie Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer?
Yes, she is that person. She is that.
Yeah, she's that character.
Yes.
So like I've mentioned that like the grief in the manga is coming from a real place. You notice how I've been a little bit tacit in that praise? His aunt is a caricature. And I think this is the part where...
This entire backstory is a caricature of how sad can we... Like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's very much a case where the emotion is very real. And this didn't break it for me. Like, I'm on board with this degree of melodrama. I can accept it.
The only thing that could possibly be redeeming is, I don't know what it was that we read, but it was the case where they did take in the nephew and then they proceeded to extort money.
Oh, Platinum End.
Platinum End, yeah.
That was the start of Platinum End.
Yep.
But like Platinum End tonally that fit. Like
Platinum End is melodrama. That's the point.
like that's sort of the thing where it's the contrast between the cartoonishly evil extended family and the like parade of saints that genuinely love him now. Like, I don't know, maybe the contrast was made to be too strong or something. I don't know.
It falls into the cliche of your found family. Sometimes it takes your family to find you. You don't have to find your family.
I mean, that's a really cool moral you could have if you just make every single biological family just completely awful. It's real easy to have found family be the clear choice if you just straw man it into existence, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly the biggest criticism to level at this manga by far.
Again, as I said, the manga is constantly towing the edge of like immersion breaking melodrama, and this is absolutely the part where it stumbled the hardest.
It's skating on the line for basically the rest of our reading, really.
Like, the next part of his backstory at least goes further into melodrama to the point it's like schlocky is not the word I want, but like that kind of vibe of like there's an entertainment value to how intense it is. This is just, hey, feel really sorry for this kid. Isn't his life really bad? I'm like, yes, the situation you've imagined is really sad. Good job, Lemony Snicket.
But yes, the next part is that his father's friend, who Ray had encountered a few times. He was
encountered. It's definitely a word. This man's got some daddy issues for someone who is not his father.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this guy.
I mean, and it's also the relationship's kind of weird because obviously he's a family. I don't know how to care. He's his dad's friend. So he grew up interacting with him a lot. He felt really close to him because they were able to, I don't know how to call it. I understand this dynamic personally. It really spoke to me. It's just where you have an older role model or something who really seems to.
I mean, you can have a good father and still have father figures in your life that aren't that individual father, and that's who he was.
But the entire point is he wasn't able to have friends like in school, but the only person who seemed to really be able to get him and be able to build any type of relationship was this older friend of his dad's who also played shogi.
You say also played shogi. That is this man's entire personality.
Yeah, that's where the complicated feelings come from, because like
I'm trying to phrase it so it doesn't sound creepy.
It is creepy. That's the point.
I don't know.
Ray's entire internal monologue every time this man is on the screen is basically begging him to love him. Like it's
for reasons other than shogi. Yeah.
It's weirdly romantic. Like
yeah, and it makes you wonder because he doesn't even say he doesn't really comment that much on his dad. We know his dad played shogi, but we don't.
He loved his dad. That's the thing. Like
but that that's all he really says is I loved him and he also played shogi. Also, this was his friend, and now I'm begging his friend for affection.
And now I'm in love with his friend because he's the only person outside of the family who shares my interest.
But it's not his interest. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It is his interest. It's not. He's not interested in it.
It is his interest because it gets him closer to, I think his name is Koda?
Yeah, I'm good. You know what? A better word for it. It's his hobby.
Yes.
He's not interested in it at all, but it is something he has fallen into
Yes.
that is getting him
'cause-
attention.
Because
Yeah.
we do learn here, Ray is actually, like, he's not necessarily like a super prodigy or anything, but he is very, like,
He's a
he is
smart kid.
naturally talented. He is good at shogi, like, independently of any training that he gets later.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like it creates a connection between him and someone who he feels comfortable around. Like, and not for nothing, but like I didn't get a romantic vibe between like I didn't get a like he's in love with him kind of vibe, because to me it feels like this is the one person who isn't blood related to me that I feel comfortable around.
I kind of the vibe that I got was like Ray's some kind of queer, bi, gay, I'm not sure, but it's like the description of Koda in his mind is his dad's friend. For some reason I would get flustered and happy when he came over, and it feels like a kid having a puppy love crush on someone older.
There's a weird romantic tension that for me really solidified when it's like, oh, you see this terrible den of vipers I found myself in? Here is my knight in shining armor that is saving me from this.
Like at the funeral. But yeah, Koda comes up to Ray and he's like looking around, seeing how the rest of the extended family is basically completely already written this kid off. And
hey, again, free child.
I love the insane amount of extended family he has that are all saying, yeah, I guess he's going to an orphanage. Like
orphanage? Yeah, orphanage. Yeah.
This boy has multiple blood relatives in a room that seem well equipped to take care of him.
He could literally go with his grandfather. He could literally go with his aunt. They already have a kid. Whatever.
Yeah, his grandfather could easily take care of him. He's got health problems, but that's better than an orphanage. But again, that's why this is melodramatic and stupid.
Exactly. So yeah, Koda's like, hey, you like shogi? And Ray's like, yes, I do, as he's crying. And he's like, it was a lie. I didn't like it at the extent that he wanted. But it was...
I could never be the thing he wanted, but I desired it. I desired to be desired.
Yeah, I'm going to have to... I don't know. I don't want to agree with Sam, but I kind of have to agree with Sam. It's something.
And then literally
at the very least, the dark thoughts in his head are queer coded.
Yes. I want validation.
The next chapter is called Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm like, okay.
I love the forced metaphor in this.
The metaphor. There's forcing a metaphor, and then there's putting square peg in round hole.
I'm going to just go this off the top of my head. I'm not going to look it up because I think I've remembered this pretty clear. We get introduced to his family. It is big man on campus. It's not in the notes, so I'm going to make it up. His name is Hatsi McShogi player.
Koda.
His name is Koda. He has the daughter who...
is Kyoko,
who is awful, as we've seen in flashbacks, is all we know about her. And
she's
a son.
Terror.
Yep.
She's a preteen terror.
And an elementary school son we never see the face of, so he's not important.
His face is right here. He's hugging a little dog.
A lot of outside of that, a lot of scenes deliberately hide his face because metaphor.
Because he kind of checks out.
Yeah.
Regardless, we get this lovely metaphor that I adore, and it's basically, do you know what a cuckoo is? A cuckoo is a bird that lays its egg in another's nest so that when it hatches, it starves its siblings so that it can be loved and take all the parents' love and grow strong off their deaths. I am the cuckoo in this nest.
It's not even their siblings. He's not even really saying that. He's literally saying he's like a parasite, essentially. In other words, it's further distancing himself if he really sees himself not a part of this unit.
He wants to see him as a sibling. That's the problem. It's the other two who are mainly just the girl who's like, you are not my sibling. Please stop calling my dad daddy.
Stop calling my dad.
Isn't she like 4? She's like 14 when he so I can understand that.
They're the same age.
I just really like the way that she's introduced by slapping him super hard for beating him in a shogi match.
No, she's 4 years older than Rei.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Kyoko is 4 years older than me. Ayumu, the little boy, is in the same age as me in the 3rd grade.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That skews the dynamic.
Yeah. And she
So yes, she is like a teenager. She's a teenager who just gets random boy into their house and then starts calling her daddy, like dad. And she's like, who is this kid?
I do want to make it clear. He calls him dad in a professional sense. I'm just saying daddy because I find it funny.
That is an important distinction to make.
Well,
I mean, she is a volatile individual. And then here's where the complicated feelings for the dad come in. We get into his shogi obsession extends into his parenting to a degree that makes him very hard to tolerate as a father in,
Yes, he might not be a great dad because he really does not exist outside of shogi. Like, his kids have to play shogi, and if they are not good at it or not passionate about it, they are left.
They cease to exist in his eyes.
They kind of tread the line with how like manga supervillain they want him to be, because they literally do frame it as he's so shogi obsessed. His children have no choice but to be good at the game to remain within his field of vision. Mm-hmm. Because when the young son quits shogi,
he doesn't force him to continue playing shogi. He's like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
I just won't pay attention to him anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't have to play.
And it's very clear that Kyoko definitely believes that because of her violent outbursts at anything that reduces her that seems to get in the way of her increased skill in shogi.
Oh no. A manga father is really dedicated to their job and doesn't pay attention to their children outside of that. What a horrible monster.
Yes. Example number 10,300.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But yes.
I do like the fact that his response to his daughter assaulting a child is she can't let her emotions get the better of her every time she loses a game. Not, that's incredibly why would you do that? What is wrong with you?
And at one point, I think he basically tells Kyoko that she should quit the Shogi Association because it's clear from her violent temperament and her inability to beat Rei in a match that she has neither the skill nor the mindset to actually get good.
Well, because his entire thing is not that if they could survive, because frankly, all of his children seemed capable of surviving as professional shogi players. He's looking so far ahead past that. It's not good enough to be like, yeah, I guess you could technically make a living doing this. It's
because the thing is, he's a title holder.
If you're not the best, what are you even doing?
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, for all of the melodrama, I did really like the panel of Kyoko, like, ugly crying, teeth gritted in a snarl, with the dad just very calmly saying, you understand, don't you? Like, that level of, like, disconnect.
Honestly, for all of the melodrama, Kyoko is a really interesting character. Like, she is so awful, but she's that kind of like train wreck you can't look away kind of awful.
She's absolutely badly processing her emotions like literally everybody else in this cast.
Not for nothing, but Kyoko seems to be the only one, well, I guess Rei does, but like she's the only one like blood related in the family that realizes what their father is doing and is very, very, very angry about the entire situation because she just wants her father to love her, which is like, It's complicated emotions, especially for someone that age.
But does the age difference provide some perspective as well? Because so you have two young boys in the household. You're significantly older. You're like 4 years older. You're in a different stage of life. You're going through your teenage years, your dad's not fully like interested in perhaps what you have going on, not encouraging. He basically checked out.
He's now like mentoring this adopted kid that just showed up randomly.
Yeah, because the kid's never had a relationship with Rei. He was sure, Ray's dad's friend, but it doesn't sound like he was like brought over to
Yeah,
like.
no, they had never met until it's, hey, this is the new child I adopted.
Free children. They just give them out.
As we found out in Japan.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a problem.
Yeah. And then and then in my favorite bit of a melodramatic page, Ray was like doing some mundane chore and a nature documentary was on and explained nest parasitism.
This is where we get the cuckoo metaphor shoved sideways, kicking and screaming into this manga.
I was the cuckoo, stealing their food and taking their parents as my own, but I could not be the cause of their death. I left the nest before fully grown so that I would not kill them any further, for I am a cuckoo, but I am also a man. Is that the backstory to Batman?
And all of this is in the framing device of him repairing the sweater that Kota gave to him, which had started to fray around the sleeve.
Mm-hmm. The completely heterosexual desire to wear your dad's clothing constantly.
I know I didn't want to agree with Sam, but I have to say I'm kind of leaning towards agreeing with Sam. It's
the sweater thing is a little weird.
There's no heterosexual explanation to pressing another man's sweater into your face so you can remember his scent.
And it's not even his like you said, he loves his biological father. Cool. I have stuff for my biological father. Cool. This is just some dude who took you in. Yeah, you should be grateful, gratitude, all that stuff.
This is Dad's good friend Steve.
Yes. Yes.
So the next 3 chapters are called God's Child, Part 1, 2, and 3, and I'm just like, okay.
I love the fact these chapters are called God's Child 1, 2, and 3, which would somehow convince you that they're a consistent narrative. You'd be wrong.
They're connected somehow.
Well, the framing device is what connects them, but it's very thin. Because he's thinking, because the reason why it's called God's Child is because Ray is thinking about another shogi player that they're setting up as an arc antagonist, probably not arc villain, but you know.
Yeah, his other older man crush.
See, I thought that was the same guy. I was so confused. I'm like, they're bringing the dad back and the dad doesn't even acknowledge him?
No, that's someone closer to his age. Older, but closer to his age.
Ray might have a type.
Actually, considering how close they look to each other aesthetically, yeah.
He likes aloof lighter hair dudes.
I guess that's also why he doesn't have a crush on the teacher, because he is absolutely not aloof. He is anything but aloof.
Hayashida does pop back in to be like, yeah, no, I went to high school with that guy. He was a jerk. Also, please be my friend, but I can't be your friend in school because, you know, then you'd have no friends your age, right, loser? Really getting mixed message from you, bud.
That's very cruel of you to say, Sensei. Have you ever considered having tact? No.
I
like how this arc opens up with like Ray's having dinner with the Kawamotos and he just randomly says that there was some place he wanted to go and he treats it as this like big dramatic slip of the tongue, like, I let my mask slip.
And it's really just a big pile of nothing.
It's extremely
because
mundane.
they express interest and like, oh, where do you want to go? I want to go here. And he's just like, I don't really have a place. I just want to go.
I was just saying nebulous shonen protagonist things.
Yeah.
Please disregard.
Akira's like, nah, I really want like a tropical vacation where I can fall asleep getting a massage. That'd be great.
You know, just not having to do the day-to-day like crap that I have to do. That would be nice.
I do like how she says the real vacation would be not having to make dinner every night, and everyone's just like, you're a saint, please.
You're such a good person. Thank you for taking care of us.
They all seem genuinely guilty. It's an adorable domestic moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, you know, depression does stupid things to your brain. You don't this minor inconsequential thing that means absolutely nothing is the most dramatic thing that's ever happened. I let the masks. What mask? What the fuck are you talking about?
You don't understand. When I first started on my own, I lost 2 games of shogi. A prodigy loses no games. What am I supposed to do? I have a black mark on my record, and I got my 3rd and final loss. But not final. I'm still in the game. I don't know why I said that, but it feels final to me.
My terrible losing streak, bro. You lost 2 games.
Yeah, but the problem is middle school genius child prodigy. Once you reach that title, you don't ever get to be average, which sometimes you're just average and that's okay. Like,
well, yeah, and I mean, like, there's even a level of some of the like other shogi players actually point out, like, hey, you're not supposed to be average, like, what are you doing? Stop not being perfect. And like,
I'm sorry, how many 20 years more of this game have you played than me that I'm better than you?
Yeah, that's kind of Ray's reaction. But then he spirals into the existential, why am I even trying? I could survive doing as well as I do now. It is like, it's because you want to be good at what you do. It's not that complicated, my dude.
You want to be the best. Otherwise, why are you even here? That's what everyone thinks, I can assume.
I pushed myself to become a pro. And then as soon as I became a pro, I got my own apartment and all I did was sleep.
It turns out once I had my basic, human necessities taken care of, I just got kind of comfortable and realized, sometimes just living life's cool too.
It feels smaller when you unpack it, but again, I liked the emotion in this because this is one of the ones where, like, I felt that, like, this is something that perhaps the mangaka went through. It
felt very genuine. This was definitely the part where I felt like the manga finally had a coherent thesis statement, and I was starting to I was able to pay attention to that.
Yeah, it clicked back in. But, like, what's going on here is he was raised in a house with an unhealthy obsession in the thing that he's doing. And right now what he's going through is, if you step back and look at it rationally, he's in a healthy, comfortable place in his life, like, at least financially. He can accept this, but he also wants to be good at the thing that is his job. So, like, there's a level of passion in him, but, he's also grappling with the way that he had been raised when he had been taken in by Coda, sort of like breeds this like unhealthy obsession with, if you're not first, you're last. Like, that's grappling with hey, I want to be good at this thing, which is a perfectly rational and normal, place to be, and not wanting to burn yourself out of the thing that you do.
And that was also the first time he saw him, Soya Toji.
Something, Sam. It's something.
Rival character.
So, best friend? No.
Yeah.
No. This is a different kind of manga rival. Very different.
Historians will say they were roommates. God's child in our land. And there's your...
generally when you call another man an Adonis, there is no heterosexual explanation for this manga. And then the third part of God's child is a weird McDonald's date with Hinata.
It is extreme. Yeah.
This is definitely the most that Ray feels like an older brother or like a brother in the Kawamoto like family dynamic.
Well, he treats her because, they're scraping to get by. They don't have a lot of extra money, but she sees a strawberry shake.
Yeah, and he's got the money to burn on it. Yeah. The thing I like about this is,
why do you want a milkshake? It's late fall, like early winter. It's cold. Why do you want a milkshake?
I am child.
You know what? Correct.
But yeah, the thing I like about this chapter is because it's like there's the moments of like the extraordinary melodrama, but like then it's contrasted with a chapter like this where Ray just has a normal social interaction and kind of realizes
it starts off as normal. He gets real weird in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it starts off awkward, then it gets weird, but then Ray sort of realizes, oh, I can just talk to this guy who has a similar life experience to me. And, he just gives some advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We have
and that's
some real life experience because he does kind of show up out of silently and just like dead stares at him.
Yeah. So like while Hinata and Ray are just sitting around and Hinata's enjoying her milkshake, all of a sudden Takahashi, the boy that she had the crush on, just shows up.
Yes.
Oh yeah, a teenage boy is in a McDonald's. Wow, what an insane
what a
twist.
shocking turn of events. I guess it's because it's this teenage boy, but still.
He's also with the team. Like he's with his friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he notices Ray, he
I love his reaction. His reaction is to go, oh geez, you're the guy. You're her friend. I'll just move and sit with her. And Hinata's just like, what the are you doing?
please do not abandon me right now. Well, he's trying to give her a moment with her crush, not realizing that is exactly the wrong thing to do.
In the worst possible way.
Well, I mean, you know that she likes him, and you're just like, I'll give you guys a moment, since she didn't
I'll
get her
give
moment.
you two lovebirds some time to just make out with each other. Please stop. Please stop.
No, I'm not saying that he's making the correct decision. I'm saying he's making an understandable decision. He's making an understandable mistake, and Hinata does stop him.
I just like how Hinata starts speaking in wingdings.
That is very accurate.
My immediate thought was brain freeze, but then it is revealed that is not it.
She is violently blushing and talking in emojis.
Yes. But I mean, it makes sense. She didn't get her moment to talk to him before, so I mean, it's like, oh, I'll give you guys a moment, Well,
she didn't get her moment because it was a terrible situation that she didn't want to intrude on. Like it was, I don't want to be one of many girls.
So anyway, she
spills her shake on her.
Yes, I think she does get brain freeze actually later down here. She's like, oh crap, and then like spills it on herself.
She is crushing the cup in her vice grip of oh no.
And then she's like, oh, I need to run and clean this up. Yeah.
Well, just stall for me. And then Ray's just like, why am I talking to him? This makes no sense. It's like, hey.
Yeah, this is where it gets weird.
Because he just dead ass stares at him like.
He's just, and he's just like, hey, bud, what's up? And he's just like, give me your name, your entire name.
I'm Ray Kiriyama. So you are him, the boy prodigy of shogi. What?
Again, it's so uncanny that like everyone
knows shogi. Yeah.
My father told me about you. More importantly, he showed me the same article. Everyone in this series seems to know.
I think it's important to point out that Takahashi, the boy that Hinata's sweet on, he is the same age as her, but he is freakishly huge, which means he's like a head and a half taller than Ray.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we've all grown up. Guys just seem to shoot up.
That boy drinks his milk.
That boy
definitely does.
So he's just looming over Ray, staring down at him like, you're him, aren't you?
Which only makes it creepier because we have to remember that he is younger than Ray, but he's so much taller.
Then he just asks a honestly relatively reasonable question given who they both are, because he's on the path to become a pro baseball player despite how young he is. And considering Ray is basically gone through the exact same experience just in the shogi world, he asks, specifically what he asks is, why did you go back to high school? But, they just sort of have a bit of a moment where, Ray goes over his experience and, they connect. It's one of those ones where it's like the moment outside of Ray's head gets significantly less and less awkward, whereas Ray's depression brain is trying to fight off the dopamine of, no, this is a normal interaction. Everything is fine now. This stopped being awkward already.
This conversation's going very well. Just keep going. Don't stumble. Just keep moving.
I'm so happy I could cry.
I love when Hinata comes back and she's just like, so and he's just like, you can get my digits through her. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to bother you and talk to you later. And she's like, That's super cool. I'm incredibly fine with that. They also say the exact same thing at the same time because they both think him saying, I'm going to have to bother you later for that is referring to both of them because they're both crushing so hard at this boy because there is no heterosexual explanation for this manga.
It is.
It's cute.
It is really cute. I will also say, I don't think Ray's totally aware of his orientation because he does, like him saying, you can get my number.
Ray's repressed.
Ray saying, you can get my number from Hinata is a 100% cool wingman moment. Like he's totally doing that for her.
But also, he's just like, I don't want you to think I was here dating a girl. So yeah, we end on that very fun chapter that, because I started reading the next chapter by accident, does not even have an arc break. It's just God's Child.
And yes, thus brings us to the end of our reading. So, favorite character? Gosh, that's a question. Akari, I think without preamble, Akari. She's she's fun. She hasn't had the trauma dump that I know is coming. like I can sense it just from like the beat of the manga. I know it's coming.
Well, I mean, there is the strong implication that the family is only pretending to get as well as they are because like we did have that scene where Hinata had to excuse herself to go cry by a bridge.
Yeah.
And Akari's got like double the workload, so
Akari's got a bit of the toxic positivity about her.
Mm.
And
which makes her interesting.
Exactly.
It's very much, she gives me the sort of vibes of smile through the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she also breaks down crying a couple times.
Does Akari also have the problem with men at her job, or am I remembering another character from another manga?
I think you're remembering another character from another manga because that wasn't explicitly said.
Yeah, she has a bit of a playful relationship with one of Ray's friends where like he's
crushing on her hard.
Well, she's a hostess, so that's her job.
Yeah, like she water off a duck's back. But if that came up at some point, that wouldn't shock me. But it's not come up yet.
But yeah, she is definitely the character that I found to be the most immediately compelling. I found every character to be interesting in time. I think my biggest problem with this manga is that boy howdy does it spend a long time winding up to the backstory. Akari was my favorite character. Matt, how about you?
I really want to say Ray, but I feel like we know nothing about him because he's so guarded.
Mm-hmm.
See, so a character I actually really enjoyed. Hinata's great.
Yeah, Hinata's pretty great.
Hinata's fun. Jay, how about you?
Because I really feel that I didn't have a particular singular favorite. I would say that initially I was going to say Ray, but then I don't know. I know he is definitely experiencing some inner conflict, but that's not the reason I would say he's not my favorite. So for the record, my favorite I'd have to say is Akari. I'm curious about her struggle and her backstory and how she's been able to kind of brave the day, put a face on to, support a household and raise her two sisters and be so loving and, be that person who literally takes in strays. So yeah, she would have to be my favorite character. I'm curious about her as well.
All right. And Jacob.
It's kind of weird for me because this is very much a case where my favorite character isn't someone who I like, because if you go by that metric, it's hard not to say Akari. But my favorite character, I think, was probably Kyoko. She is just so she steals the show whenever she's on page. She is so vicious. She is so
Which is impressive because she's rarely on page.
She has such a verve to her, and she has
she's blonde.
Okay, hang on a minute. But yeah, no, she has such a massive narrative presence for how little she's like literally. I mean, like we've only seen her in flashbacks, and it feels like she is like a ghost permeating the whole thing. I mean, like she's not obviously the cause of Ray's problems, but like she seems to loom large in the dark places of his mind. And I don't know, like I said, it's like a train wreck you can't look away from. Like,
all right. Thoughts about the manga? I feel like this question might be a little redundant considering the the structure of the episode.
So we kind of gave our thoughts throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I think
if I had to denouement my own opinions, it would be eventually I got into it. And I think the manga spent a bit too much time dallying in like the dark hints of Ray's tragic background. What actually is his problem? Why is the sad boy sad?
Yeah.
And
that's kind of where I am, Sam. Like, because we read 13 chapters, which is 13 weeks, which is like a little over 3 months. And I don't know. Like, if I was reading this week to week, I would definitely feel strung along at some points.
Yeah, because like, especially with the random like genre swings, because like it goes from melancholy drama to slice of life cute to shonen sports manga thing. Whoa.
Yeah, like I think you mentioned earlier, like Nikaido feels every time he's on screen, it feels like a different manga entirely. Like
he's drawn so differently. He's like the All Might, but it's not serving the theme.
That's a place where I'll disagree, because to me the genre swings are part of what made it feel authentic to me. Because when you're in a headspace like that, your mind doesn't work linearly. You can just sink into hideous melancholy that is just like, dude, you're fine, get over it. But like it feels like that level of drama to you. And then, the next day you're just having a normal day where wacky shenanigans are happening. As much as I definitely will continue to compliment like the heart and the feeling and the sincerity of this, it does feel that I do feel like it's very personal. And to some extent, I do feel that perhaps the fictionalized aspects of it, so like, the degree of sad backstory versus the degree of how okay he actually is despite himself, I feel like that was pushed way too far to the point where it strains credulity. And like that's the reason why I can't really embrace the manga wholeheartedly, because there is the part where it's like, this is also a linear narrative being told to me, and it feels unbelievable despite how sincere it is. Like, his entire family is a bunch of wicked stepmothers? Really? All of the people currently in his life are actual saints? Really? Like,
like I'm with you in appreciating it for the genuine like depictions of hardcore depression, but like
the vibe is there, but the nuts and bolts narrative isn't.
It doesn't make for good reading.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really good depiction of someone with depression. Just, I don't feel like the story is enticing me to want to explore his depression.
Like the characters and the vibe is there, but the story is not.
Like, Blue Period had that really good arc about his depression. And it was about him getting through it. And and even if you don't get out of your depression, you still have a journey.
So you think it's more of the pacing? Like, this just feels very drawn out?
No, because I feel like maybe the pacing, it's a slow burn, and I think it's going for a slow burn. So I don't want to say that the manga's done anything wrong. This feels well constructed. Just
not your cup of tea?
I feel like it's going for a slow burn, and it might even just be trying to linger in depression. I don't think it has any real motivation to talk about getting out of depression. I think
It could be
But
like more like living and dealing with depression instead of like I'm cured or whatever.
the
you know?
vibe I'm getting from all the characters involved is kind of like depression and like trauma. And grief is a better way to phrase that. Grief is something that sticks with you and never really goes away. It will sometimes just flare up, and it's always going to be there. And this is just finding the joy in life outside of moments of grief.
Yeah, and this is something that's personal to me. I've experienced myself and relatives of mine have experienced grief, and we have talked about how people say, oh, you'll move past this or you'll get over it. And then there was someone, I don't quite remember, I think they were another relative, who says, you never get over or move past. You just learn how to manage and deal with it.
It lives with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure what's motivating me to read a story about just living with grief. But I'm not saying that's not something that should exist. I'm not saying that's a bad narrative. I'm just not finding any personal motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the one thing I will criticize about it is I do think that the highs and the lows are pushed a little bit too far. But like, I mean, that kind of transitions into the would you continue reading? And my personal take on that is I wouldn't complain if we came back to it. I don't think I'd read it on my own, but I certainly feel that like when this there are people out there who are this manga's audience, and when you find it, it will be a very challenging and very rewarding experience for you, because it is like the whole way through I'm like, oh boy, this is somebody spilling their guts. This is very personal. And this isn't my experience with grief. So I have this like disconnect with it where I feel like a voyeuristic outsider to this journey. But like if that is your experience with grief, oh boy, I can't imagine how like invested, you could get in this, because but for a few small problems, it's really sincere.
Yeah, that's sort of my take on it too. Like I don't really see myself reading this in any context outside of doing it for the podcast, because I did enjoy it, getting the chance to analytically discuss it.
I think discussing it was more fun than reading it.
Yeah,
1000%.
Matt here. I'm also I normally hate this as a review system, but I also would not continue reading, but would for the podcast, because I am acknowledging this is well made, and there is meaning to talking about it further, but I have no personal interest to continue reading this.
And Jay, how about you?
Defense. First of all, I just wanted to comment and I really like how this is depicted. I like the art. I'm a sucker for art. There were some screen grabs that were just beautiful, and I just love the way they were depicted, the angles, the perspective. Sometimes some characters, when they're really trying to focus in, I believe it was Kyoko, that one sketch of her that was in a slightly different style. It was really interesting. So I just wanted to mention that. But I kind of have to agree with what has already been said. It is not really, I feel like I'm watching someone else's story, and I'm kind of, as I believe it was Sam who said, it's like you are like a voyeur watching someone else's journey. And it's interesting, but I don't think if it were, I would pick this up, myself and say, oh, I need to follow this every week, or I really just need to binge this manga. It's so captivating. I wonder where the story will go. Yeah. But I would, definitely continue reading if it came up on the recommendations. I do think this is a very valuable piece. I think it's a very well constructed story. I theorize that it could perhaps be a self-insert, or at least someone close relation to the author. But again, it does, at least for myself, it does not spark joy.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that in like a lot of the little asides, apparently the mangaka consulted with an actual shogi expert, and that shogi expert, will then, fill in some like shogi details that the manga itself isn't particularly interested in, because this manga doesn't care a lot about shogi. And
how'd you feel about all the shogi scenes being played out in a panel, just showing you the game board and then explaining to you what the moves were? I'm like, I glazed over that so hard.
Well, the thing,
I at least felt like Chihaya Furu wanted me to understand Korea.
Yeah. Well, what I took away from it is there seems to have been a lot of like inspiration from like real world people. Like a lot of these characters are based off of real shogi masters with their own unique stories, and that was kind of cool seeing the parallels described.
That's March comes in like a lion. Thank you, everyone, once again for tuning into the Over Manga Cast. As always, you can find us on all of your social medias where we are at Over Manga Cast.
Did you think we insulted a beautiful piece of art that you love and we apparently hated, I guess was your takeaway from that very informed review? Go ahead and flame us at Over Manga Cast on social media platforms that may have changed names recently. I'm not going to tell you what or date the episode in any way. You can also email us, which is always going to be reliable, overmangacast@gmail.com. Or, you know what? Slightly less reliable, but equally as fun. We have overmangacast.com, and you can just go ahead, little comment section at the bottom of every single page, and hopefully you're listening to this episode on it right now. Go down there. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we should have really enjoyed this, because I guess your takeaway was we didn't.
Matt, stop strawmanning, and make sure to follow us on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe.
Next in our reading, we will be reading One Piece.
Never heard of it. Sounds like junk.
The One Piece. Chapters 1 through 7.
The One Piece is real! And we'll see you all next Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I said good night, but I lied. My co-host didn't understand. I was the kookaburra sitting in the old gum tree, eating all the gumdrops I could see. And they'd say, "Stop, kookaburra, stop." But I left none for them.
Gum Gum Rocket?